Okay, so today I am joined by Chris, who is part of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim The Adventure board game crowdfunding campaign over on Gamefound. Hi, Chris, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hello, guys. Yeah, I'm Chris Birch from Modiphius. I started the company with my co-founder and wife, Rita, 10 years ago, and now have the title of Chief Creative Officer, whatever that means. I get to come up with mad ideas.
It sounds good. So, obviously, everyone on the planet has heard of Skyrim, but how would you describe the game just to someone coming into it for the first time?
Well, I think if you were a video gamer, the story is that this lets you go back to Skyrim with friends. And I think if anyone who loves Skyrim, we've all gone back multiple times.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to go back with a group of friends around a table. It's a fun. We're not recreating the video game on the table because you might as well just play the video game. And so this is a really fun game of adventure where you've got one of the familiar characters from the world, and you get to level them up, go on follow cool storylines, see the world change around you. And the rules are actually pretty straightforward once you kind of learn the basics. And you're going to see all sorts of different Skyrim kind of storylines evolve every time you play it. It's like it's a lot of replayability. And I think for board gamers who are obviously used to a lot more sophisticated games, then I think one of the cool things we've got is we have this evolving story deck. And the really fun thing about this is it's classic adventure game. You move your miniature around the map of Skyrim, you're going on quests, you're doing dungeons, you're fighting monsters, getting treasure, getting XP, getting cool loot and leveling up. But you're seeing this story unfold, and the decisions you make in every episode, and we have 6 chapters in the base game. Every single decision matters and will affect the rest of those 6 chapters. So the whole storyline across all 6 games will evolve and change, and you'll see a different storyline every time you play. Now, the main plot threads are going to be similar, but you might, for example, take the sides of the Imperials or the Stormcloaks in one of the missions. You might be on the side of the Dawn Guard or the Castle Volkihar in the Dawn Guard expansion. But there's going to be this evolving story, and because we use this sort of big deck of numbered cards, those cards can come and go, people die, events change, places change. There's going to be some really interesting like procedurally generating storyline that you're going to see take effect, and we have this beautifully scripted storyline that lets you play so many different times, and you're going to see so many different experiences unfold in front of you. So and yet it's I think an elegantly simple system that doesn't have loads of moving parts that you need to learn. And I think I like a lot of games where really once your group kind of grok or get those basic mechanics, that you can just pull this off the shelf, and because you feel like a fantasy adventure tonight, and you can just roll out across the world and have a lot of fun.
I mean, it's certainly a cool world as well. And being sort of a prequel, I'm assuming there is some sort of limitations. But how sort of big or branching do some of those decisions goes? What sort of maybe an example of a small one and a really big potential branch that could occur?
So we have 2 types of quests. We have main quests, which is the main plotted story, and then we have personal quests. And personal quests come about as a result of going to towns and wilderness areas and meeting various mysterious characters who might give you a challenge. You could get some rewards, you gain components, and then if you want, you can take their personal story. If you do, that character goes away forever. If you don't, they go back into the wilderness deck, for example, and someone else can meet them. But if you do take their story, that might be a 1 or 2 maybe sometimes longer, I think, personal storyline that can lead to rewards, and it's not time sensitive. That storyline could happen at any point in all the chapters. Now, if the main quests are linked to the storyline, and so our first campaign, which is 3 chapters long, is set 25 years before the Dragonborn turns up. And that's when you're surviving members of the Blades, and you're going to meet lots of characters who used to be adventurers until certain things happened. And so you're going to see young Mjol as an adventurer, and she can be a follower to help you in the dungeons. So there's all sorts of interesting characters that will be familiar, that will pop up, and you're going to see this interesting story about the end of the Blades happening. And then what happens is you jump forward in time about 25 years. You are called back to adventure, but you're a bit old now. You're 25 years old. You're out of training, so you've got to train up again. You've still got some of your cool gear. Maybe you've sold some to pay for the roof that keeps leaking, and so you're back on the adventuring trail. And then our big Dawnguard box set jumps you forward again, and you're going to be in the Dawnguard campaign. So there's a lot of potential in the storyline. The actual scripted, what we call the main quests, you might typically see like in the very first chapter, which is an introductory game. It's maybe designed to last about an hour, and you'd have about a 3-stage main quest, but also you could be going doing multiple staged side quests. Now, if you wanted to just focus, like, I'm not interested, I just want to do the game, I want to be first to get to the end and finish this, then you could probably play it about an hour. But I don't know a single Skyrim player on the planet that does that.
No, very true, very true.
Yeah. And the fun is in getting distracted and doing more dungeons and finding this kind of world quest that needs this big event over on the east side, maybe Windhelm, and going down some dungeons and leveling up. Going, oh, you know what? I just want to do another dungeon because I can level up and I can get that cool skill before we go back to the main quests. And the game lets you do that, and it really encourages it. Actually, it's obviously the more powerful you are, that when you do the main quest, the more chance you have of success. But you also don't need to be afraid of failure, because we like to celebrate incompetency in the game. We all fail dice rolls at some point. The game has lots of ways for you to mitigate luck. So if you're afraid of, like, oh, I've seen loads of dice, and does that mean it's just luck based? No, it's not. You can absolutely risk it all on your luck. You can attempt to level up and get the skills you need to get more dice. You can gain components which often let you roll more dice in various skill tests, and the quest cards always give you a hint of what's to come. They usually show you the challenge ahead, so wait a minute, if I have some soul gems, I can roll more dice. So you can either risk it and just go straight there. You can go, okay, I'm going to go off and do a couple of wilderness encounters and get some soul gems from that. So the game helps you, and if you ever fail a quest, you still carry on. There is no, that's it, put everything back in the box, you're up, it's done, go home and think about how bad you are. The game just lets you carry on. Maybe you don't get the cool rewards, maybe you trigger something bad happening. So for example, if you fail some of the main quests, typically you trigger one of the other surviving blades being killed somewhere in Skyrim, because there's this big plot to kill them all. And that has far-reaching consequences. Those blades are no longer going to be there later in the game. When an event says, draw this card, it's not there, it's dead. You killed him 2 games ago. So then something else happens, which maybe won't be as good. So the game learns from your failures and learns from your successes, and things change. I can also make a decision in one of my event cards that might affect you, the numbered card that you pick. So we affect each other with our choices too. So the chapters get longer as you go. There's more main quests to do. There's a lot more coming out, and the very first game is kind of like a vanilla version. It's got the bare minimum dungeon cards and event cards, and we have about 600 numbered cards, and those are gradually going to feed into the dungeons, into the quests, into the gear and treasure decks, and into the encounters, and the game just starts to populate based on your choices. And that's why it's so fun, because every playthrough can be different. Although we look at the plot as a bit like a Christmas tree. So we have about 4 starting points, and you're going to all make choices that take you down different sides of the Christmas tree, and then you're going to all come back. The first one brings you back together in solitude, for example, and there's a finale there. And then you're going to start out again, and the next game will set you off on another big plot, and that will bring you back together in a certain place. So we can we don't have this like sprawling gazillions of hundreds of cards required to manage that. It keeps you all on this central plot, so you're all part of one story, but you're all seeing different sides of the story, as opposed to I'm just doing some completely random different story that's not connected to the rest of you, and that we don't really feel like we're part of a big story that's unfolding in front of us all, and we all we're all helping to get there.
I mean, it certainly sounds epic the way it does evolve with you. Now, the part of this is, I suppose, that you can replay once you've gone through one campaign, or the campaigns you can sort of reset. How big a process would that be for players to actually to reset the decks or everything that they need to do?
Ever so easy, because all the special cards are numbered. So, for example, as you destroy, remove cards from the game, they just go back in the box, put them in a pile. Let's say you played all 6 chapters and you're like, oh, I really want to play again, but I don't want to be a Nord this one. I want to be an Altmer and just go all magic and do the whole path of sorcery. So what you do is you shuffle all the cards back into their appropriate decks, the treasure deck, the wilderness deck, and all the numbered cards. You've got this beautiful card holder with card dividers in from 1 to 600, and you just slot the numbers back in. So you're just looking, okay, I've got all these numbered cards, you just put them back in order and you're all good to go again. So I mean, obviously that will take a little bit of time, but it's very easy, very straightforward to do.
Oh, that certainly sounds good for everyone that's going to want to replay this, because let's be honest, we all play Skyrim 1 or 2 times, should we say.
Yeah, and I think you'll find that and you can fail a chapter. Is something I should come back to. I mentioned about you can fail forward, and you can even fail a whole chapter, but even then the game just keeps you going. Like, just carry on. Like, you can start the next chapter because the story moves on with your failure, or you can just go, oh well, you know what, let's just reset and start this one again, because we want to see what would happen if we were able to finish it. But there's lots of ways of doing it, and I think people are going to want to keep trying. They might want to try again. They might want to try a different style of character. Maybe they were using heavy weapons, but actually they want to try doing a lot of sneaking skills and see how that gameplay plays, or the magic, or they might want to try one of the different starting stories to see where that takes them. So there really is like a lot of endless replayability, because the end game, the end plot of each chapter isn't that kind of such a secret moment that once you know it, there's no point playing again. It's really cool the first time you do it, but the second time you do it, maybe you made a different decision and you ended up on a different side, or maybe the third time you did it, it ends a bit slightly differently. So there's going to be a lot of fun just playing through again each time. And I think most people who've seen it generally go, I just want to play one more turn. Oh, I mean, we were playing last night and I had this really cool character build. I was like, let's just do another dungeon, because I've got this really cool sword now. I want to see how it works. So I think people will see that when they try. And you can actually play it for free right now on Tabletop Simulator. There's a free first chapter of the game that's really stripped back, a lot less cards, but it will give you a really good flavor of that. And I've been running demos on that again, I think maybe 2 or 3 times a day, and I'm not bored because every time it's different.
Well, that's a really good sign. I did see that on the campaign page, it does say that there has been some changes since that sort of demo has been made. What would you say are the biggest change from that Tabletop Simulator demo that obviously people can get their hands on now, but
Yeah,
has
so you're going to
changed.
see some of the card designs have been changed. Some of the icons have been made more readable. Some of the colors, we're doing some tweaks to improve suitability for people with color blindness. So we've been working on that. We've also, I know people have had issues with the art. So whilst we're unable to create new art, we have been able to pull out much better resolution images from the game engine. So we're going to be showing some kind of before and after images. A lot of people love the look of Skyrim. I've seen the print-offs using the old resolution ones, and they look great. But I've been playing the game without any art for 3 years as prototypes, and I can tell you, you don't even notice because you're so embroiled in the story that's unfolding in front of you. But I think people will like the improved ones. The other big thing we've done is we listened to the community, and they were saying, oh, we really want something special for the base game for backers. So what we've done is unlock what we call legendary encounters. Now, these are some very powerful enemies. In the game, you can get legendary status with your skills. Basically, what that means is there's 8 levels of skills that you can get, which could cost increasing amounts of XP. Once you get to 8, you can start becoming legendary, which means you turn those skill counters over and they're even better bonuses. As soon as you do that, it's going to trigger the first legendary enemy to appear. And now these start appearing in the dungeons, but they've also got legendary artifacts that are really amazing, very powerful items that are famous throughout Skyrim, that people will recognize them from the game. And the enemies are super powerful. They're really big boss enemies. So you're going to have to get together, power up, and go and take them out if you want to claim these artifacts. So these cards are, I think they're hologram. We're just looking at the best way to do it, hologram or foiled. It's a pack of cards that's growing. We've unlocked, I think it's 6 so far. And or no, it's 5, I think. So it's basically another 4 coming, and there'll be more and more and more. So there's quite a few to unlock, and this is going to be a whole set of exclusive cards only for Gamefound backers inside the base game, and it's not going in the retail edition.
Well, it certainly sounds like just that extra bit of sort of pure end game content of when you're already a boss, you're already that hero, and you can go and take something legendary out.
Yes, that's right. I mean, you'll be legendary status before you have to face them, so you will be a lot more powerful, but they are going to be very, very tough. And we're going to reveal what they are in our Skyrim anniversary stream on Thursday, because of course it's the 10th anniversary of Skyrim. So we're doing a celebratory stream ourselves, and we're going to be talking about what's coming, talking about our memories of playing Skyrim, and much more.
So as we're talking about monsters already, the monster deck, the way they sort of work for encounters is that they slowly get more dangerous with you sort of start shuffling in things from lower and lower down the deck. Does that mean by the end of the game that people aren't going to see, their favourite mud crabs and things like that?
Well, that's true, because you'll be way too powerful. I mean, you literally walk over the mud crabs on the way to the next thing. The way the dungeons are styled is, this isn't a dungeon crawl game, and we didn't want to have complex dungeons that then would take hours to play, and you don't actually get to do the exploring and leveling and stuff. So the way dungeons are built is through a number of cards. Each chapter has its own kind of dungeon guide card, which tells you which types of creatures or enemies are in each dungeon. So, for example, a cave in chapter 1 is 2 animals, and then a mine is a human and an animal, and they all have separate decks. So there's an animal deck, human deck, undead deck, a Daedra deck, and a Dwemer deck. So they get increasingly powerful, and each of those decks is growing as more cards are going into it as a result of your quests. And each of those decks now, they're stacked in a certain way. They start with 0 level creatures, and they get progressively harder as you go down. So when you go into a dungeon, you'll say draw 2 animals, but at maybe chapter 3, a cave might be 2 humans, or an animal and a human, but it's by then you've got rid of all the little level 0 characters, and think of each card as the kind of main enemy, the strongest enemy in that room that you've got to face before you can carry on. And once you've defeated that enemy, you go on to the next room and you get a chance to kind of reset your stamina and magicka, and then you kind of face the next enemy. And of course that can get stronger and stronger. So very much later on, you're going to be facing 3 or 4 or 5 rooms of enemies. Some rooms might have 2 or 3 enemies in one room alone. So it can get very tough, but we've kept it kind of somewhat abstracted, so that players can really focus on fighting an enemy. What do my abilities let me do to the enemy? Should I go first, or should Dave go first? Or actually, Julie's better at fighting this enemy, let's let her go first, and then Dave will take the next enemy and can sneak up on it and attack it first. So there's quite a lot of nice fun tactics without having real crazy complexity.
Well, it certainly looks good, and obviously people can see there's been some sort of gameplay videos you've put out, but also they can actually just try it on Tabletop Simulator if they want.
Yeah, and you can absolutely play it solo as well. I'm a big solo gamer, and I wanted to make sure that this was designed to be solo from the ground up. So you can play with one character, and with one character, it's very simple. There's not like a whole page of rules. You simply don't draw an event card every other turn with solo play. You can also, when you go into a dungeon, you can use sneak on every encounter, which you can't do if you're playing multiplayer. The same character can't sneak in every room. So there's some kind of simple bonuses that a solo player has. They get all the treasure, all the upgrades, so that's good. And it's really fun to play through solo, and and you can save your progress very easily. We have a number of chapter save boxes, so at any point you can stop playing and just save everything into that box and can start again next time.
When you're playing solo or with less than 4 players, it looks like you need to sort of sometimes remove certain cards. Does that mean you could necessarily miss out certain content, or is that just ways to give the 4 players the sort of starting mission?
So there's certain cards that will be discarded as a result of your actions. So like if you choose to take a wilderness card, that card is no longer in the game and no one else can encounter that person. If you discard a dungeon creature because you're higher level, that creature is now gone for good for the campaigns. If I do a quest, you obviously can't do the quest, but there's some quests have overlapping choices. So for example, let's say I've got a quest and you've got a quest. 2 of our choices might be the same number. If I pick that choice, if I pick, say, card 229, you can't pick 229 if you make the same choice. What happens is you pick card 230. What does that mean? Is it just another card? No, what it means is that card reflects the fact that you can't do the choice you wanted, and it's slightly different as a result of me doing that. So the game has learnt from our choices, and your fate has been slightly affected by it. It's a very, very simple mechanic that actually has a really fun and meaningful result in the world.
So people could still, if they are playing it solo, they could still see all of the same content, and it's just it would be by their choice rather than someone else influencing it.
But you wouldn't be. I mean, let's give you an idea. So there's 4 starting cards. If you were playing solo, you're going to pick one of those. They each have 2 choices. So think about it as 4 sides of a pyramid. Like, which side of the pyramid do you want? Okay, side 1. Okay, you're only going to see some of the story on that side of the pyramid, but there's 4 other sides. And also add another dimension, which is you're using the Altmer, you're using a magic using character who's going to use magic through the encounters. But actually, if you went with Khajiit, who's really good at sneaking, you would see a bit of a different experience as well, and like the play style and types of gear you would go after, the types of choices you might make as well.
Fair enough. You're certainly selling it to me.
Okay.
So whether it's playing on the Tabletop Simulator demo, or when players actually get to the game to the table, what would you say is the first thing that first-time players actually sometimes muck up that maybe they should know before they start?
Before you start, Well, one of the things is don't shuffle the dungeon decks because they are stacked in a certain way. And when you finish a dungeon, you basically take, say, the 2 animal cards, add the top animal card from the deck, shuffle those and put them back on top of the dungeon deck. So what that means is the dungeon deck is slightly, there's a risk now there's something harder in there, if you keep trying to mine the caves, the simpler dungeons. The other thing is when you draw an event card, typically it also gives you 2 threats. This is one of our kind of timer mechanics. Threat has to go on one of your quest cards. They can all take a certain amount of threat before it forces them to fail. So the more side quests you've got, more personal quests, the more threat you can take. But that's something it can be easy to forget. But that's about it, really. I mean, there's nothing. Like I said, once you've got a few playthroughs, when I show someone how to play, within a couple of turns, and it's always better just to play, and within 2 or 3 turns, you've seen all the things you can do. You can basically move 4 spaces. You can go to a location on the map, and a location in the map is either a dungeon, in which case you go and do a dungeon, is a wilderness or a town, where you could do a wilderness or town encounter. And in towns, you can also upgrade your gear if you've got the suitable components. You can buy and sell from the markets. You can buy components or equipment, or maybe do a quest. If you've got to the right location. Leveling up is ever so easy, and the dungeons are pretty straightforward once you understand the simple combat system. So it's a very a good example of this is the complexity is in the storytelling, not in the game mechanics, because we wanted the storytelling to be the really fun bit. There was such a fun story that you want to come back again and again and see a different story, and the mechanics just help you play a fun game alongside that.
Well, it certainly sounds like the stories that you've got available. You've got 6 in the campaign chapters, sorry, in the base game, and then there's already the 2 expansions. Is that correct?
So there's the Dawnguard expansion box, which adds another campaign of 3 chapters. You can suddenly become vampires. There's a whole, if you know your Dawnguard DLC, there's a whole story between Castle Volkihar and the Dawnguard and Fort Dawnguard. Massive new quest structure, like 74 new equipment and treasure cards, I think, loads of new expansion to the game. And then we have what's called the From the Ashes expansion. Now this adds more overlays, not necessarily the numbered quest structure. This adds a whole bunch of new difficulty levels and mini campaigns. So mini campaigns that take you to all the wilderness spaces to fight the bandits. One brings out the skeletons are kind of marching out from the tombs. Another one is the Draugr are turning up in the dungeons when you go there, making the dungeons more difficult. So there's lots of fun stuff there. There's a big dragon campaign, which is a huge fight with a very powerful dragon, which is set obviously in the 4th era once you're kind of in the time of the Dragonborn. And that's going to take you all over the hold fighting the dragon. You have to really work hard together, and that is added on top of any of the existing chapters. And then we have a mini campaign about the ghosts of the blades, who are ghosts of your fallen companions, and they're going to be hunting you across Skyrim whilst you're on your normal quests, and that's really difficult. And then we've got some more mini campaigns to add to that. There's a Dark Brotherhood mini campaign where they're going to confront you in the towns, and then we've got some really exciting stuff to announce this Thursday as well, alongside the legendary cards for the base game, but some more fun stuff that we're going to be revealing too.
That sounds like more excitement potentially on the way for players there.
Yeah.
When it comes to sort of the extra campaigns or even the mini campaigns, are they designed sort of to be played on the end of or at the side of sort of the current content, or could you, if you wanted to, start a new character just for them, or is it all about sort of continuing on with one you've already slightly leveled up and geared up?
So yeah, think of them as an overlay over one of the existing chapters. So let's say you've played through the whole campaign. You're like, let's do it again, but I want to be the Altmer. Let's use the Draugr mini campaign and the Skeleton mini campaign in chapter 1 on top. and that's going to add an added layer of difficulty to that. It's going to also give you access to some really cool artifacts if you manage to defeat all the skeletons or the Draugr. You might, when you get to campaign 2, where you're now in the 4th era, you could go, let's add the dragon campaign. It's gonna, because we really know what we're doing now. We reckon we've got a chance against it. And again, if you defeat it, there's some really cool stuff. So they're new options that add lots more flavor to the existing game. Because like I said, think about this as you'll want to go back and play it again. You want to see different experiences, and these let you add all sorts of new flavor into that. Now, there is, one of the announcements we've got coming is about how you extend that gameplay more. So, but I don't want to talk too much before Thursday.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. So moving sort of maybe slightly away from the sort of the game itself, but the team of you that have sort of worked on the game, obviously there is a designer, but I'm sure you've play tested it from the sound of things for the last few years. Has there been any sort of learnings or understandings taken from the Elder Scrolls tabletop miniatures game?
Well, I mean, it's the same universe, and in that it's very much set kind of in the, it's very much in the 4th era, because it's based on Skyrim with all the characters, or the people like Hadvar and Ralof and so on. It's the Imperials and Stormcloaks and all the factions, from the Skyrim video game. They're very different games. This is a board game that represents kind of travel on a strategic scale across Skyrim, whereas the Call to Arms game is a skirmish miniature game that really zooms in. Now, there's a bit of crossover because we made sure all the miniatures in the board game are 32mm scale plastic, so they're the same scale as the resin miniatures in Call to Arms. And we've also unlocked a kind of bonus skirmish game, which is, it uses the same dice and unit cards as Call to Arms, but it's a really, really stripped back, much simplified skirmish game. So you can just play battles against your friends with the plastic figures in the miniatures upgrade set. And that gives you, so with the first 2 games, you're going to have 10 different heroes. You've got another 10 alternative sculpts of the heroes. You've got 20 heroes in total. You're going to have the 10 ghostly figures from Dawn, from the Ashes, and then I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's about 40 odd or 50 of the red wandering monster miniatures, which gives you loads of options.
So, well, it's another way for people to enjoy the content as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we thought it would be fun to give them a bonus game, and of course it's nice if we hope that people will go, this is great, I want to get more of this, and maybe have a look at getting the Call to Arms. And we're actually giving people in the add-ons a really cheap deal on the Call to Arms bundle that's normally £90, and it's only £60 in the project. So people can get a good discount on that if they want to try it. And also the base game and the gameplay tier pledge get all the what we call the Adventurers Primer, this cheap simplified war game content in PDF, so they can try it out, read it, and go, oh, I quite like this, and then maybe upgrade to the miniatures upgrade set later on, or buy the Call to Arms box sets. I think having it all compatible is a really important thing, because you often see companies do different scales, and I was just like, why wouldn't you want these to be the same scale, so that Call to Arms players could buy this to get more miniatures cheaply, and all the content in it they can use in Call to Arms, and vice versa. If you had some Call to Arms miniatures, you're like, oh, I've got my really cool painted Dragonborn, I want to use him as my character, then yeah, great, it's going to look right in place. It's going to fit right in. If you've got some of the the other miniatures, maybe the Astronax we carry, or the trolls that we've just released, you can use them in place of the wandering monsters. So
yeah, really good. And it's really nice to see sort of a company actually thinking, we could make it so these are compatible, and not sort of, okay, we could make people rebuy these here and stuff like that. So it's really nice to see.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I think the best question to end on here, because I don't want to take up too much more of your time, is apart from the theming of the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, what is the thing that really sets the game apart from the rest?
From other board games?
Yes, yeah, from other board games.
I mean, it's so difficult. There's so many, we live in a golden age of board games. I mean, there are too many great board games, and every week there's another great board game. I mean, it's Skyrim. I suppose it's, I hope that it's a good enough fantasy adventuring experience that if you like that type of game where your hero moves around a world and goes on adventures, then that's going to tick the box. But if you love Skyrim, then I think it's going to tick all the boxes for you. We use some great simple mechanics. I don't think there's, I don't pretend that we've got this amazing mechanics that you've never seen before and it's groundbreaking and it's going to change your life because these mechanics are so cool. It's not. It's good, solid mechanics that people have used before. People have used the number cards before. It's a good combination of everything. And I think it's we've done so much development, so much play testing that I think it's streamlined and it flows fast and it's enjoyable enough that you want to play again. Like I said, I think it's really got that like, I just want to play one more turn, so it really does grab you. But I think the big thing is there are lots of great fantasy games like this out there, and we've all got our different, personal favorites and stuff that we like. But I think if you love Skyrim, if you've ever spent too many hours in Skyrim, like a lot of us, then I think it's worth having a look, watch some of the videos, and see if it's the one for you.
Perfect. And how long do people actually have to check the Gamefound campaign out for?
Oh, we've got a few weeks yet. We're running until Sunday, December the 5th. It's the final day. We'll have a pledge manager after that as well. So.
Perfect. Well, there you go, everyone. You can go and check that out on Gamefound now. And thank you very much, Chris, for your time.
No worries. Thanks very much. Okay.
Before the Dragonborn came to Skyrim, you are surviving members of the Blades, a legendary group who long protected the Empire of Tamriel. Abandoned by the Empire, you must work together to thwart a plot which threatens the whole of Skyrim. Build a unique character in the world of the Elder Scrolls. Choose between Enor, Dunmer, Imperial, Altmer, Khajiit, or Orsimer. Equip your character with a wide range of weapons, spells, and armor. Travel across the wholes of Skyrim to places like Riften, Solitude, Falkreath, and Whiterun. Attempt a huge range of evolving quests that change the game with each decision. Explore the wilderness. Gain side quests from mysterious characters. Explore ancient ruins and tombs. Battle Draugr, Frostbite Spiders, and Daedra. As you delve deeper, your foes become increasingly deadly. Gain experience and amazing treasures. Upgrade and enchant your gear. Level up your character with a wide range of unique skills and abilities. Play through 6 chapters of 2 huge campaigns in this endlessly replayable adventure game. The Elder Scrolls Skyrim, the adventure game. On Gamefound now.